Could you confirm if you can see it?
It's coming through. Perfect.
Perfect. All right. So, good morning, evening, afternoon, night, everyone who is attending this conference. So, my topic, AI for accessibility, improving reading fluency with pronunciation assessment. So let's give some brief introduction. You know that practicing pronunciation and getting feedback is essential in order to improve language skills. Maybe you are learning English or any other language. And yes, you can read, you can understand vocabulary, you can listen to some audio. But what about speaking? If you talk, how do you know that your pronunciation is correct? Most of the times you will need an expert, a teacher, a professor, and this might be costly and also require a lot of time and effort. Thus, the assessment can be expensive for students. So the idea of this session is to introduce you to an artificial intelligence and machine learning technology that will allow you to create some software, some solution that can support students in learning languages in a very practical way and with objective feedback in real time. So, I already introduced myself. Here I will just talk, or you can see my contact details where you can send me some email, tweet about this session. Hopefully it is great for you. So feel free to reach out, and yeah, sometimes I might be busy, but I will do my best to help you. All right, so just very brief introduction because most probably you already know this. There are several cognitive services, APIs, which allow you to simplify the integration of artificial intelligence in your applications. Any language is supported either through SDKs or REST API. One of these services is speech, which has different capabilities such as speech to text, text to speech, and speech translation. However, 2 years ago at Build 2020, there were new capabilities announced by Microsoft. One of them was pronunciation assessment, which can assess, evaluate the speech pronunciations in order to give speakers some feedback, some regarding different categories you will see across the presentation. For example, accuracy or fluency of your of something that you just spoke. Actually, this service, you can see it already. If you, for example, practice using PowerPoint, for example, there is some plugin, PowerPoint Presenter Coach, which is also actually a feature from PowerPoint, which can tell you how was your presentation, how was your speaking, was it correct? Did you, let's say, spoke fluently, or there were some minor mistakes, and it actually tells you where were your mistakes. Also, Microsoft Teams uses this. We will talk about this a bit later. So yeah, essentially, we might have, as language learners, this problem. Perhaps we want to practice our pronunciation. We want to get some feedback. This is kind of essential in order to get better, to improve our language skills. And as we said, it can be complicated for the student to reach out some expert, some professor. Perhaps some students study at night, and of course, the teacher might be already sleeping. So it can be complicated to ask, professor, can you help me with my pronunciation? Well, actually, on the other hand, professors might do their best in order to help students. However, evaluating the pronunciation of all their students with high quality can take a lot of time and also require a lot of effort. So this could be an issue in both, let's say, sides. From students' perspective and also from a professor who wants actually to help students, but maybe this professor have a lot of students, many, like 30 or 40, so it is complicated. So how to solve this problem using AI? Well, as we mentioned earlier, pronunciation assessment is a AI-powered speech capability that helps to make language evaluation more accessible, more engaging to students of all backgrounds. Pronunciation assessment is included in my speech service from Azure Cognitive Services and provides this subjective and also objective feedback with AI. The idea is that some language learners can practice, get this feedback in terms of some score in 3 categories: accuracy, fluency, and completeness. Then, for example, it provides an SDK and also REST API, so an application can be created. And maybe we can also develop an application for the professors, for educators. So they will see how was the performance of the different students and where they should focus. Maybe some words, some specific vocabulary is complicated for all students. So they will see which words or in general, how was the speaking, how are the speaking skills of the different learners. It actually gives precision in terms of phonemes, so and also word level. So it is quite a detailed service. And of course, the idea is that by developing some application, and because this service offers the results, the feedback at any time, students can be outside, can be at home at any time, and they will get the results in terms of seconds. So they will pronounce some word, for example, limon, and then they can get information actually how it should have been pronounced and if it was correct or there was some mistake. So they will improve with practice. Of course, how is this achieved? Well, basically, Microsoft uses a lot of data sets in order, of course, to consider different contexts, different pronunciations. Then, as you know, in machine learning experiments or models, there is, let's say, a target model or some target model which kind of calculate some average of the different pronunciations in order to get the right one or a correct one. Then when a new individual comes up and speaks, the pronunciation assessment evaluates the similarity between the input and the expected output. And it will calculate some score in terms of accuracy and also fluency. For example, if you continue speaking during, let's say, some span of time. And at the beginning, you can provide some, let's say, text, and it will also evaluate how much of that text the user said. So that's the completeness part. So I think it is time for our first demo. Of course, we are in developers conference, so I will just give you some brief demo about this service, and then I will tell you how you can implement it in your applications. So let's head to Speech Studio Pronunciation Assessment, which I have here. Yes. Okay, so before I already created a cognitive service resource, of course, in the Azure portal. So here I have the different capabilities available in a speech service. And as you can see, one of them is pronunciation assessment. So I can click here, and then there is some text that I can record, right? I can create some recording. Just give me a second. Okay, maybe I am learning. Okay. Yeah, there is some sample, but for some reason my internet is a bit slow. So let's, but okay, yeah. So I got it. So now I can try speaking that text. So let's do it. A minute. Yes, it's as I said, a bit slow. I already clicked, and let's see. Okay. It is having some issues. Okay, let me try. The idea here is that I will, of course, talk, and I will get some results. So I will try again, but okay, well, never mind. For some reason, it is not working, perhaps because I am already using the microphone here in Teams, but let's see, no problem. So the idea here is that maybe there is some result here that I said earlier, and you can see maybe, well, there were some errors. You pronounced this wrong. You added extra words, and here this is also some mispronunciation. So you can get this score. You can evaluate how is your performance or speaking skills. But then, of course, the idea is to develop something. But here you can, let's say, get some idea about this service. So, well, never mind. Regarding the code, yes. So if you want to develop an application using pronunciation assessment, well, there are different languages. There is, of course, C#, there is Node.js, there is PHP. In some cases, there is an SDK and also a REST API available. So in this case, I choose C# because, well, that's I love .NET, and that's the language that I mostly use. So the idea here is that you can create an instance of an speech config object. You will pass the cognitive key that you get that from the portal, and also the region where you develop or created your service. And you can also configure a timeout. The timeout means after you speak, how much time the user will remain silent in order to conclude let's say the sample, and this will be sent to the cloud in order to be analyzed. And you also need to specify the language that you are using, for example, English, Spanish, and it can even target some local, like English from Britain or English from US. After that, you need to create a pronunciation assessment config object where you will specify the text. For example, in Speech Studio, you saw that there was some text that the user should, let's say, and this is the one that will be compared for the completeness with the audio. Then there is also the grading system. If you want a score from 0 to 5 or from 0 to 100, and also the granularity. Do you want to evaluate syllables, phonemes, or full text? And finally, the miscue is if you want that in the analysis, omitted words or extra words should be included. And all you need is to pass this, let's say, pronunciation config to the recognizer. And after that, depending on the technology that you are using, like, for example, I will show you with a Xamarin Mobile application, you need to set, let's say, the microphone. And the user starts speaking after the let's say, silent time. That audio will be sent to the cloud service. And after, let's say, several seconds, you will get a result. And the result can be, let's say, 3 types. It can be no match if there was some error, like for some reason the audio was not correct, or there was some mistake in the stream. Maybe if the request was canceled, yes, you can also get that error. And if it is successful, which is known as recognized speech, there will be, let's say, 3 elements. There will be the text, there will be the assessment, which includes, you will see all the scores, and finally, well, just success is true. And well, here, as you can see, this is how the phonemes and also syllables analysis goes. Maybe you have technological, and these are the English phonemes. Of course, every language has their own. And we can also have the syllables. So yeah, this can be different depending on the language, of course. Oh, sorry. And well, as you saw, you will get a JSON, for example, if you are using REST API, and you can also configure how many phonemes you want to get. Let's say the best one that were obtained by the evaluation. And you can see the score 100, 52, 47, depending on the pronunciation of the speaker. And yeah, this is basically the same that I said earlier. So you have your speech recognizer, you have the recognize async once async method, and you get the pronunciation assessment result, which includes some parameters or some results: accuracy score, fluency score, completeness score, pronunciation score, which is an average of everything, and finally the different errors. If some words were omitted, if there were extra words pronounced by the user, and other stuff. Yeah, so this is some kind of summary. And yeah, basically we get accuracy score, fluency score, you will see in the application. And well, actually you can get a list, a collection of all the words, all the phonemes, all the syllables, both the correct pronunciation or the correct word and how was, let's say, spoken by the user. So let's demonstrate this in a mobile application. Well, this is, well, I say mobile, but well, I use Xamarin technology, so you can create mobile and also desktop. So in this case, here there is some, let's say, message. I will just turn on my, so hopefully you will listen. You can hear. Okay, I will again. So now it is my turn. I will click on this button. I would like to test my Spanish learning skills. Of course, I made some errors. I added extra words. Yeah, the text will be different because the goal here is that you can see how was the pronunciation score, how was the accuracy. I said some words. I also got some errors, of course, my fluency, because of course there were a lot of mistakes, so it was around 56%, and also the completeness, because I didn't say all the words. So this is the, of course, overall, and then we can obtain phonemes. Like I want to my speaking and different, of course, and also the syllables. So yeah, you can get let's say, this kind of level, this kind of evaluation in this using this technology. And just for the record, yeah, here I have, oh, sorry, I have Visual Studio. Actually, this project is available on my GitHub. I can share the address later on Twitter. So if you want to take a look at it. But yeah, basically here I just created let's say a service, a C# class, and all the code that you saw in the presentation is implemented here. Yeah, so basically we work with the microphone, and then I create the speech config, the speech recognizer, and I submit the audio, and we get the result. And after that, it's all about presentation, creating objects, in order to display, let's say, this list of items, create some chart. But yeah, it's very, very handy. And well, as I said, this technology is used by Microsoft Teams, for example. This one is a bit interesting because, for example, last 2 years we were locked. So there was education online, and perhaps in English, yeah, the student can, let's say, practice on their own and just submit this audio to Teams, and then they will get feedback. Even though the professor is not present, they can get this information. And also, professors can get the overall results of all speakers. Of all students. And the professor can see where are the issues, where are the problems, what words are complicated or difficult for the different students. So yeah, that brings me to the end of my presentation. Here are some useful links where you can learn about it. There is a documentation, there are some demos, there are some sample codes. And please, if you have any question, I will be glad to answer it. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you a lot for the great presentation. It was really interesting. I can't even say anything right now.
Well, I think the tools that you described are very useful in the educational system. I think also when you would be able to link it, for example, with the immersive reader of Microsoft, which is already used in some schools. I know in some schools in Belgium, they start using it to help children read because they can hear word by word how to pronounce it. But of course, it can be used also afterwards with now that system, how to, if they are pronouncing it actually correctly. So you could actually build a whole application specifically for kids to learn to read, not read to learn.
Yes.
Yeah, I think, again,
definitely.
There was also yesterday in the keynotes, we were talking about the educational system where AI will start to get implemented, where we will be able to build courses specifically for that kid, and he will be able to grow much faster and not being bored because he already has the skills, and then he needs to follow what maybe kids who have less skills are already doing. So yeah, it's quite interesting, and I'm really looking forward to the future of AI in the educational system.
Yes, definitely. This can help students of all levels, expert and also newcomers. And something that I want to point out is that AI will never replace the human side. I started talking that maybe the professor is not available, but this doesn't mean that an application will replace or take the job of the professor. It will complement, it will provide an extra, let's say, help for both professors and also students. So yeah, this can help everyone. So this is, let's say, one of the nice things of AI. Of course, there are a lot of nice
there are many
things.
nice things,
So,
but
yeah,
I think that's really going to help society. So to help children, to help adults even in specific cases. So again, also concerning accessibility, it will help those people. So All right, Louis, thank you very much for your time, for your work and preparation of your session. Looking forward to hear more from you in the future. But with this, we're going to close our session, and we'll see you soon in a couple of minutes for our next talk.